Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from beautiful Vero Beach, Florida, the southern command post of the X-Zone Radio and Broadcast Network. And all's well down here. We're getting ready to enjoy our Thanksgiving season down here in the down in the States. Hope wishing everybody out there a happy holidays. Hope it's your weather's fine. You have a wonderful holiday. Tonight, I got a couple of guests that I'm really excited about. You know, folks don't realize that Florida, it's a new state. I talk about this quite often with on my events and whatnot when I'm talking to people. It's a new state, but in this new state of ours, we have the oldest city in the nation. Yeah, St. Augustine, Florida. A lot of times St. Augustine gets lost with all the bigger names and paranormal tours such as Charlotte and Savannah, New Orleans. But St. Augustine has a very interesting past. And tonight we've got some folks from the F.I.G.H.T Club in St. Augustine, Florida. We've got Debbie Seekings and KRISIE Patrick. They're licensed professional tour guides and paranormal investigators in good old St. Augustine. And their combined skills, they have created a group called the F.I.G.H.T Club. And we're going to ask them exactly what that stands for in just a second. They do both tours and paranormal investigations, and they seek to help people understand and learn the history of beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. So with that, I'd like to introduce my guests, Deb Seekings and KRISIE Patrick. Welcome to the show, ladies.
How you doing? Thank you.
Good. So F.I.G.H.T Club, what is that? That's a cool looking acronym for what you do. What does it stand for?
So it stands for Florida Research, Investigations, Ghosts, History, Tours.
Interesting. So research is an important part of what you do.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to hear from both of you. How did you get into the field? What brought you into this whole world, if I may?
Good. Go first. Okay. So basically, I was born and raised around this. My mother was into it. My grandmother was into it. I just thought it was normal until I got into about middle school and I started talking about ghosts and paranormal things, and everybody just kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, oh, okay, not everybody believes this.
Well, KRISIE, when you say your grandmother and your mother were into it, does that mean they were just interested in studying it or searching it, or did they have other abilities that kind of set them on the track?
So as far as abilities, they did like feel things. They were able to feel like if a spirit was near them, or things like that. And they always talked about it. They were always open with us, and they're just like, oh, well, this spirit's here with us now, or hey, we have this spirit in this house, and just thought it was normal. Everybody.
Excellent. And Deb?
Mine's not quite as exciting. I mean, mine actually started out more as just an exploration in general. A lover of history. Actually thought I'd be an archaeologist at one point, but when the TV show started, Ghost Hunters, for example, you know, and I was watching those, and I was like,
Okay, that's kind of neat. And I just started to kind of grow in that interest in combining my love of history with also the paranormal, and more so just trying to, you know, learn about the people. I've always been really interested in the past and just learning about the people that were here before us, and
Mm.
getting into the paranormal side of it was a good connection to be able to do that.
So how long have you been, both of you, how long have you been actually physically investigating?
So I've been physically investigating, I would say, here in St. Augustine for about 6, 7 years.
Okay, are you from St. Augustine originally?
I am not. I'm originally from Miami. I moved up here about 15 years ago.
Oh, you're Floridian. I bet that's
I
unusual. So many of us came from
am.
another place. And Deb, you?
So I'm newer on the investigation side of it. Just been with KRISIE probably for the last maybe 3 years or so, uh,
Mm.
and just before that, just general exploration, things like that. So
Okay. So you've got this group called the Fright Club. What does it do? And I understand that actually your investigative side is called Hide and Seek Paranormal Investigations. Is that correct? When
yeah.
did this start? When did this start?
So we both we met actually as licensed tour guides here in town in St. Augustine, and Chrissy had started the historic haunted tours, doing the ghost tours around town, the walking tours around town,
Mm.
and was also doing the investigations, and also wanting to get a little bit more into it myself. We chatted and we were like, let's merge together and let's see what we can't come up with. And the Fright Club itself. So I had a group in Michigan. That's where I'm from, called the Scream Team, and I was like, okay, I can take an acronym and turn it into a Florida.
Uh,
And we came up with the Fright Club, and it features both the historic haunted tours for the walking tours, but then also we want to focus a little more heavy and get more into the investigations, and then that's where the hide and seek paranormal investigations was born.
okay, and I want to talk a little bit more in a bit about your investigations, but the tourism end of it has me a little interested right now. You talk about being licensed tour guides in St. Augustine. Now, there's no question you go to New Orleans, Charlotte, Savannah, places like that have been known for a long time, Salem, Massachusetts, to have a thriving industry in the paranormal ghost tours, if you will. What does it take to become a licensed paranormal tour guide in St. Augustine?
So it's a 50-question test, and
Mhm.
it's all about the history of St. Augustine, streets on St. Augustine, people who were people who discovered St. Augustine, who played a big part in St. Augustine.
Mhm. And do you have to have any paranormal background, or is this just for tourism in general?
Correct.
Or
It's just for tours in general.
how big's the industry there? How many different tours are there in St. Augustine?
There's
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it seems like every weekend it just grows. Because
Mhm.
at this point, um, they've changed a little bit in their rules or regulations, if you will, as far as the licensed side of it. And it seems like anybody can buy a golf cart or just go walking around and take a group around. The difference with that is that they're pulling from story after story after story that's built from stories. And what we're trying to do to set it apart is learning the real stories and the real history and doing that research and doing that background, and not doing it for the entertainment factor, which is mostly
Okay.
what these other tours are for. It's more for the entertainment factor. We're trying to bring it more to a real life, um,
like an
feel.
educational,
Hmm.
educate
Okay.
people about what St. Augustine's all about.
Okay, so you're doing the research, but what type of research are you doing? Because sometimes history, let's face it, I'm sure you've run into this, history is in the eyes of the beholder, who told the story first. How are you getting to the real root of the history of St. Augustine? Because people don't really realize how important that city was, and the different things that happened there with the different French and the English and coming through. It's just a tremendous history. What are you doing to make it different, I should say?
So we do have a library here in St. Augustine that holds all of the archives and official records. And we spend a lot of time there researching things and just trying to find old newspaper articles and anything that has to do with facts of St. Augustine. As far as the paranormal and the hauntings are, we
Mhm.
actually say everything that we've encountered or like one of our
Okay.
guests have encountered versus the
Okay.
same St. Augustine legend.
Okay. What's kind of off track here a little bit, but what's the most haunted spot in St. Augustine? I have my opinion. I'd like to hear it from the two professionals there.
Well, that's a good question. Um, as far as my experience, I would say the Jimenez Facio house and then the Cofadilla well.
Okay.
Say those two are probably the most spots that I've got the most activity at and seen things.
Now, how much of the city is old? I mean, most of those early cities are very, very small, but how far does your tour reach, and where are all these places in relation to walking distance?
So my tour is about a mile and a half,
Hmm.
and it's a 90-minute tour, and we go to the south side of St. Augustine. So most of the tours go north side, which is by the fort and the
Hmm.
graveyards. Mine will go south side over by the well, the Menace house, and the Father O'Reilly's house.
That's interesting because so much of it does go to the north. Why do you choose the
Correct.
south? Is it what's your
Um,
reasoning?
I chose the south because it's different.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of tourists that go there. So when we are doing our investigation tour, we seem to get a lot more activity down there. A lot of people don't
Mhm.
even know about the South Side. They don't know about Palm Street or anything like that. And I just kind of want to educate everybody that there's more to St. Augustine than just the fort and the cemeteries over on that side.
I'll be honest with you. I've got to throw this in. The lighthouse is my spot.
Yeah,
I'm
I
I'm
love
just
the
saying.
lighthouse. I
Uh,
worked at the lighthouse for a year. I
uh-huh.
recently just stopped in May to create my own company and to run my own company.
You're not wrong.
The
Yeah. No,
lighthouse is very haunted.
the lighthouse is what actually set me on my journey, to be honest with you. But
Yes,
that's a story for a different day. Why are you doing it? I mean, you're talking about wanting to share the history, but what is your true goal of taking people on these tours? Is it, I mean, I assume this is what you do for a living?
yes.
Okay. Um, but is it a passion or, and you mentioned something earlier about things get very commercialized there and people just come in. How are you different? How are you different than somebody that just wants to make a buck and you're gonna do what it takes to make people happy? How are you different than that?
Right. So one, I am very passionate about it. Two, I won't lie. It's all the research I've done and everything, and people will ask me questions, and I will answer them honestly, whether
Mhm.
they like that answer or not. I'm going to give it to them. I like educating people.
Okay.
I like them to know the truth because St. Augustine's so much more than just ghosts or history. Um, and I think that's our main goal is to just educate people.
Have you
Yeah,
got any other thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, like I said, trying to step away from the entertainment factor of it, that everybody else kind of tells the same stories, they go to the same places, which is again another reason why we went to the other side of town, to see more of what there is in St. Augustine. Like you said, it's a town that it has a deep, deep history, but people only know bits and pieces of it.
Mhm.
And so by exploring into different parts of town, and trying to explore into different stories and find out these, and then, like you said, you know,
Mhm.
what the research is only as good as whatever you find in print
Sure.
or when you talk to people and
Well,
and
and I we got to cut you off here because we're about
okay.
ready to take our first break. But when we get back, I want to talk to you about the commercialization of the paranormal field and get your thoughts on that. So, folks, we'll be right back after these messages. And we are back. St. Augustine, beautiful cities. I said, and I mentioned Florida being a new state. We didn't even become a territory of the U.S. till 1820. I think 1845 is when we became a state. So we are new compared to a lot of different states, and yet we have this beautiful old city. We talked about this a little bit. What's the tour environment like in St. Augustine? I don't want to put you on the spot, but is it really competitive between the different groups?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, the majority are the tours as far as stories. They go around and tell you
Okay.
stories, whether it's history related or, paranormal ghost related. And, what we're trying to do to stand out from that is by doing more of the investigation side of it, which is a little bit not quite as prominent here.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, just as far as the commercialization of it, there's not a lot that go around and do the actual paranormal investigations. Most of them will just walk you around to pretty much the same spots, and they'll just tell you these stories that have kind of
Off a
all the
script.
time. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you're saying you're doing investigations. Are you doing the investigations on the tours? Do you have other events that allow your guests to investigate, or are you taking the results of your investigations and adding them into the tour?
So I do take the equipment with us,
Mhm.
and we stop at different locations and we do actually investigate.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What kind of equipment do you bring with you?
So I have the dowsing rod, REM pod, spirit box. I have the EMF readers. I have
Mhm.
cat balls.
So you bring a whole lot of things. How long do you stay at a spot? I mean, how much time do
So
you give your guests?
so it all depends. If we are getting really good activity, we will stay a bit longer. If there's
Mhm.
not so much activity, then we will move on to the next spot. The tour's
Mhm.
about 2 hours. If we get good results, we're staying longer. There's no real
Mhm.
time limit on the tour.
Okay, okay. How big are your tours? How do you have a limit that
So,
you can take?
yeah, for the investigation, I only do 13 people. I try
Okay,
to keep
oh,
it small and
13.
personal.
13. Does that number just out of coincidence or or not?
Well,
Pretty much.
So this whole field's getting commercialized. I do tours too. I get it. I understand what it means to have the passion to do it. But I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that the whole field is getting a little too commercialized. Seeing a lot of places that are facilities that are being bought and then advertised strictly for this. Do you think the field is getting too commercialized, and is it hurting the actual research into the field? Your opinions on that?
so my opinion is yes, it's getting very commercialized, and which allows a lot of the fake people to come in with all their lies and everything else. But at the same time, it's such an amazing field that why wouldn't you want to share it? Like,
Okay.
and yeah, people are buying houses. Same here in St. Augustine. They're
Hmm.
buying houses and opening up for paranormal tours or paranormal investigations. And a lot of them have no idea what they're doing. So with that being said, like they could call on the wrong spirits and with them not knowing what they're doing could end up harming them as well.
Okay. You say they don't know what they're doing. Are they untrained?
Yeah.
I think a lot
Okay.
of it is, with all the shows that started to pop up,
Mhm.
and everybody would go out, and a lot of times they kind of have that, hey, we're going to be like the ones on TV and we're going to do this. And so they go into it without the true knowledge behind it. And you find a lot of times where you have the folks that think that, if they go in and they yell and scream and antagonize, that they're going to, draw up, because they're trying to, we try and let people know, listen, it's not like they're on call. It's not like, we could have a night where nothing happens and that's okay.
Okay.
And make them understand that. So you have a lot of people sometimes where they're like, well, we brought people in, so we got to make sure that this happens. And they try and do whatever they can to make it happen. And they're not respecting, and following those proper guidelines. And that's where we're trying to do it a little different, where we're respectful of whoever it is that we're going to make if we're going to make any contact with, trying to do it more on a respectful side, as opposed to, hey, we just want you guys to book and so we can make some money. That's not, we want to do it so you can have an authentic experience and learn a little bit about the true history and about the people that were here.
Well, going back to what I asked you before, how you're different, how do you view your training, your preparation, your background different from these other groups that makes your stories more truthful, more verifiable? What do you guys do that are different as far as your training,
So as far as
or
our
what
training,
have you done, I should say?
so as far as training and research, a lot of it here in St. Augustine is just like he said, she said, and legend
Hmm.
passed down. Like I mentioned earlier, I will go to the library, I will get into the archives, I will find records and all kinds of, whether it's like genealogy or something to do with whoever lived in that spot, whatever happened in that spot,
Hmm.
versus just our St. Augustine legends. Another factor I have going for me is that I was raised around this. I know what I'm looking for. I know how to communicate. I know when something's starting to go bad and we need to remove ourselves from the area.
Okay, well, that's good. A lot of folks don't understand that.
Mm.
Now, you grew up in it. Deb, you didn't.
Right.
So how have you been able to acclimate yourself to the field and understanding what it is you're doing and trying to do rather than just making a buck? Because it's obvious you're trying very hard to share the history.
Yeah. And I think that's
So,
really what it comes down to for me, is more just the passion of it, and wanting to just learn and continually learn. And whether that's from doing the research or, going out with KRISIE and, learning, to learn the equipment and how it works and things like that
mhm,
is kind of another side piece of it. But, learning how to truly be able to communicate. And it really is just that passion that comes down to, um, you know, having that feel for it. I mean, as corny as this may sound, I mean, things that I used to do in the past, I'm one of those that makes, when I make a vacation, it's to a place where something happened at some point in time. But I like
mhm.
to put myself in the space and think of the sounds and the smells and the sights of what it was while that event was happening in those times.
Mhm.
So I think that I pull all of that into that, and it's like, okay, I really, truly, I just really want to know. And so, my training of it is just going out and doing it more and more and more, but having that passion behind it as well.
Understood that. And you've not had have you had an actual experience yet, Deb?
Yeah, I've had a couple. Back in the past, just some places that have been and things that have done. As far as camera footage, probably my earliest footage, quite a few years ago, in Salem,
Mhm.
Massachusetts. And I've had a couple of experiences where I've been touched, once in a place in Detroit and once in a place in Tennessee. And then probably my best footage as far as on camera here, full apparition of a soldier at the fort. And I'm telling you, I am so
Ah,
proud of
yeah,
that.
I would like to see that one
Yes.
myself. Yeah, I know there was one group that I won't name that I know went to the fort. I know because I tried to bring a group there and they wouldn't let us in. This is a few years ago
Yeah.
Mhm.
because they trashed the place and showed just total disrespect, and they wouldn't let anybody back in there.
Yeah.
Yep,
You probably know who I'm talking about.
we do.
Um, so the fort's an interesting spot. I'd love to see that picture sometime, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you were an adult when you had your first experience. It's the same thing with me. I didn't have any experience as a child. It was as an adult. But how old were you in your first experience, KRISIE? How old were you when you first experienced something?
Um, so as far as like actually seeing an operation,
Mhm.
I mean, I've seen like shadows or like things just being moved on the table growing up. But my grandmother lived in St. Bernard, Ohio, and the house was 150 years old. And it was the first house built there, and it was a farming house. And I was about 12 or 13, and I walked down to the basement, and I saw a man standing there. He had overalls on, a hat on, and I ran right back upstairs, and I'm like, "Mom, there's a man in the basement." And she's like, "No, there's not." I'm like, "There is." And then she goes down there and she looks around, and there's no man in there. She checked the doors, everything was locked. And I described who I saw to her because my mom also grew up in that house. And she goes, "Oh, well, that was one of the farmers you saw." And I was like, "Oh." We just kind of named him Farmer John.
Okay. So, what do you think this, we've got a few minutes before our next break. I'd like to start heading down this road. What do you think this is? What do you think this phenomenon is? Is it truly somebody reaching out from the other side? What do you think it is?
So I do believe that it's afterlife and somebody is reaching out to us, whether it's just to say hi, to communicate, or whether it's to say, "Hey, can you help me with something? We do need help."
Mhm.
I do believe in spirits and ghosts and that we all have
Well,
souls. And
okay. Deb?
Yeah, I mean, I experienced a lot of loss as a young person, and it's not like I did this because of that, but it also what it did is it solidified just the belief of the other planes. And I had someone describe it really, really well to me one time. She's a medium, and she explained it really well that there's just this like clear wall, and they're right on the other side of the wall. And so it kind of just makes you feel like yes, they're all still right here with us. And like KRISIE said, sometimes it's, hey, we just wanted to let you know like we were here, and and maybe a little bit about our story, or if
Mhm.
truly there is something that they need some help with or something. So it's again trying to find out who these people were, and I truly do believe that all of that exists.
Any of it evil, in your opinion? And have you experienced anything evil on your tours?
we have. We've
Okay.
experienced evil on our tours, and I just kind of do a little clearing and I close everything up and we exit. We leave.
How do you protect yourself and your guests, and how do you explain it to your guests?
So I explain it to my guests before we start that there is a chance that we will experience something that's not friendly. Pretty much they all have the understanding of that going into the tour. Once it happens, I will say a clearing, and then just from there we just leave the spot, and then I will say another clearing, like before we actually part our ways to go home.
Okay. Where did you learn to do the cleansing or the clearing? And how do you do that?
So I actually learned it. Her name was Heather, and I worked for her for a very long time. She owns a great tour company downtown, and she's very knowledgeable about the situation. So
Mhm.
she was able to teach me a lot of things,
Mhm.
and yeah, I learned
Okay.
from her.
Well, we're about ready to take our next break, but I'd like you to think about this evil angle, because if we're talking about things on the other side, it may not always be good. So I'd like to chat with you and get your feelings and your opinions on that in just a second. And folks, we're going to take another break. Stay with us. I've got Deb and KRISIE from the Fright Club. So stay with us after this break, and we got more to talk about. And we're back with KRISIE and Deb from the Fright Club. Um, Before we get into this topic of evil and dealing with evil on the other side, people don't always think about St. Augustine. Like I said, it's Savannah, it's Salem, it's New Orleans. How does St. Augustine compare tour wise and activity wise with some of those bigger cities? Deb, you mentioned you were up in Salem, for example. How does St.
Yeah.
Augustine compare with the other cities?
I mean, obviously every city's got their experiences or their history as well. So I mean, not to downplay that other places don't have a lot of activity. I think it just really comes down to the depth of the history, obviously the time frame of it as well, and there were some pretty heavy things that happened here in those early days. I think you mentioned that early on,
Yeah.
I mean, the town basically started with a massacre. So, I mean, when that happens, it can really pull from that, activity. But also, we have a lot of conduits too. We're surrounded by a lot of water, and we have this material, this coquina material that's like a limestone, and all of those things
Yeah.
can kind of help to bring up that activity. So I think a lot of that definitely plays a factor for sure.
Oh, I agree, and there's no question St. Augustine ranks right up there with the best of them. I totally agree.
Totally.
But you guys are delving into, we all are delving into an area that we really don't know, and I think when you really get down to it, I think you'll agree with me. We really don't know what this phenomenon is. We really don't know
Uh-huh.
what's causing it, and I really question folks that say, "Yes, I know exactly what it is," because we really, as humans, don't. But we do run into the evil sometimes, and you mentioned Chrissy about the clearing. Do you do anything to protect yourself other than those events where you have something evil happen? Do you?
So I know a lot of people like believe in sage and all of that stuff,
Mhm.
but it's I just do a clearing, like I'll say a little clearing, and that's pretty much what
What do you
I.
mean by clearing? What do you mean by clearing? What's your definition of that?
So I have a little phrase that I'll say, and I'll just like ask the evil to leave and certain things like that.
Okay, a prayer basically, like a little
Basically, yeah,
prayer.
like a little prayer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, because I know there's a lot of folks that like to use sage and stuff like that, and sometimes people really don't know how to use it, and it can
right.
almost create, I think, more trouble than it can help. Have you ever had anybody? I know people. You said people have experienced some things on the tours, but has anybody ever been adversely affected on a tour of yours?
No, I've had tour people, guests call me back and say, "Hey, remember this little girl on the tour? I think she followed me home." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll just ask her to go back to St. Augustine." We do
Okay.
have a
Oh,
lot of children, friendly children that seem to follow people home sometimes.
oh, is there a lot of children in St. Augustine as
Yeah,
far in the spirit world? Really?
yeah, in the spirit world.
Okay. What's causing that? Do you know?
I think a lot of them were back from when the flu was big or yellow fever and
Mhm.
smallpox. A lot of them
Mhm.
are very older children that we come in contact with.
Older children as in teenagers type? Is that what you mean?
No, they're older children as in
Time
they've
frame.
been time frame.
Time
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
Mhm.
gotcha. Okay. Getting back to this evil thing, what do you think that is? You're delving into it. You've done research. You've got your ideas on what this phenomenon is. Where do you think the evil's coming from? Is it from a religion, from what we've learned from our religious studies, or what
So
is
I
it? Do you
mean, honestly, I don't have an answer for that. What I think is you have good people, you have bad people. You have good spirits, you have bad spirits.
Are they always former human spirits, or are the spirits from the human side, shall we say, if that makes sense? Or are they non-human in their creation? Any thoughts on that?
It's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
I
Hmm.
think for the most
we-
part, we don't purposely go, this is again kind of going back to the types of investigators, we're not purposely trying to go out there and find the darkest of the dark, either. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So anything we come across, it seems to be more, from just knowledge of what I have,
Mhm.
where in life is who you are in the afterlife. And so like Chrissy said, I think that typically what we come across is just someone who maybe led a not so great, straight and narrow type of life, is also then kind of creating these problems in the afterlife as well. We haven't really come across anything super, super, dark or evil as far as, talking about non-human type form.
Okay.
There's people who caused some trouble when they were here, and they're still causing trouble. And we're telling them, hey, you need to, not.
There's a lot of theories out there that you act on the other side the way you acted here, so I can kind of appreciate where you're coming from. So what I'm hearing you say, the way you're looking at this is they've just stepped maybe into another dimension, and that sometimes that veil between the dimensions gets a little thin, and that's why they're coming back. Or are they really going to heaven? Do you have any thoughts on that? Or maybe they're a little afraid the elevator was going to go down instead of up, like big, you know? Uh,
So, honestly, I don't know if heaven exists. I don't know if down there exists. But I do know that there's souls out there, there's spirits out there.
mhm.
So
Okay.
it is,
Tell me, what is the most significant event you've had on one of your tours?
Hmm.
so are we talking good, evil, just
Any one of the above, you choose. The
general?
one,
Yeah.
the one that really, when you think about all your tours, it's, wow, I remember that night. Something like that.
So at the Leitner Museum, just recently, there was a death. One of the construction workers fell from the ladder. Well, that night, I I had no idea any of that happened. And we were having the investigation there, and we seen the ladder there, which was kind of strange. And some of the guests just walked over to the ladder and they're touching it and talking about it, like, why is it here? And as we're doing the investigation, we get across the spirit box. We're like, hi, help. And I'm like, okay, how could we help you? And they were just saying, like, they didn't know what was going on and they were just confused. And so we just started talking to them and we asked them, like, how'd you die? And they responded with, they didn't know.
Mhm.
And things like that. It was a male. We were communicating with a male. And we moved on with our tour, did our tour, whatever. The next day, I'm looking on Facebook or whatever, and I see that that morning somebody had fell off the ladder and passed away. So I really feel like
Interesting.
we were in contact with that person that night.
Interesting. Now, did you guys record this at all and like keep it?
We did not.
Ah,
I wish
okay.
I would have now, but
Yeah.
we just thought it was a regular tour and investigation. We had no
Mm.
idea that that had happened that morning.
Now, you mentioned a spirit box. For those of in my audience that may not know what that is, can you kind of describe what that does and how it works for you?
Absolutely. So a spirit box, it runs off of white noise basically, and it allows their side to communicate with us.
Hmm. And it uses radio, it goes through radio frequencies to do
Radio
that.
frequencies, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you got this clearly. There was no radio stations coming through or anything like that, just
No,
the voice itself.
it was just the voice itself. It was one of the most clearest sessions I've ever heard.
Okay.
It was
What
very
other
clear.
equipment, what other equipment do you use? And what's your
The
and what's your favorite while we're at it?
so the REM pod, we
Okay.
use the REM pod.
And what does the RIM pod do?
So the REM pod is kind of like an EMF reader, I'd say.
Hmm.
It was based off the 1914 musical instrument called the theorem. So where you
Hmm.
actually played that instrument by touching the antenna. And that's
Okay.
what the spirits could do. They come along and they come in contact with the antenna and it could create different sounds. The lights will light up around it.
Okay.
I would say that's probably one of my favorite um
Okay.
things to use because there's no way that's just going off by itself. It actually has to have that connection there.
Mhm. I feel like it's also probably one of the easier pieces of equipment for the spirits to be able to utilize because all they have to do is have their energy near it. It's not like they
Hmm.
have to do anything really, that takes a lot. They just have to go
Sure.
near it. So yeah.
Sure. And what else do you use?
We use dowsing rods. I have cat
Okay.
balls. I have stuffed animals. I have cars that the spirits can move. Most likely the kids love
The
playing with
kids always.
those. Hmm I
Okay. Now, for those that are not cat lovers out there, they hear cat balls, they wonder, what the heck is that?
So
What is a cat ball?
a cat ball is a little clear ball that has lights inside of it. And those lights do not light up unless you move it. So as
So
soon as
it's
you
got
move that cap, all those lights light up.
okay. So it works in the same concept of the moving the little toy cars around.
Correct.
Yep.
Hmm. How often do you actually get something happening on the tour?
I would say we get something every single time. Now,
Mm.
is it tons of activity all the time? No. A
Mhm.
lot of time it is based off the energy of the tour. If we go to the tour with like believers and people who are really into it with high energy, we seem to get more
Mm.
activity versus people who have the lower energy.
Well, let me ask you this question then, and I don't disagree with you, but you're saying people with more energy coming in. Is it that obviously you're saying they're causing it, but why are they causing it? Why is their energy causing it? Is it? I'll let you answer that. Your opinion. Like,
So
go ahead.
I feel the spirits, they run off our energy. If
Okay.
we have high energy, they could take that from us and it allows them to communicate better with us. And I
Okay.
would say they're people. They're like us. You don't want to be around anybody who's just like, okay,
Yeah,
this is
negative.
boring.
Yeah.
You want to be around somebody who's like, yeah, this is fun. Let's go. I feel the spirits are the same way.
Okay.
Yeah. For an example, we did an investigation the other night using the spirit box, and for the most part, we were in a part of town where there's not a lot of foot traffic.
Mhm.
But there were like 2 or 3 instances where a group of people walked by, and the activity on the spirit box stopped completely until those people went by, and then as soon as they left, it started up again. So they felt safe with us, but they weren't so sure about strangers or
Mhm.
outsiders. So I think it kind of goes in that same realm. If somebody's got that real negative type, thing, then they're the spirits aren't going to react to that so much, as opposed to when they feel a little bit more comfortable with you, knowing that everybody's energy is a little bit higher. So
I can see it. Is it possible though? Is it possible that uh, we don't know what our brain is capable of? Do you guys remember a guy named Uri Geller at all? He used to bend spoons.
a little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That's somebody who used brain power. Is it possible that somebody coming in with that type of energy, it may not necessarily be the spirits, but it's their own energy causing it? Do you think that's possible?
It is. It's very possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I believe that.
Okay, because that's once again, we don't always know what's causing all of
Correct.
this,
We
and
don't.
that's well, we're about ready to take our next break. When we come back, I'd like to know a little bit more about your investigative techniques outside of the tours. So be thinking about that, and folks, we'll be back right after these messages. So stay tuned. Thank you. Welcome back for our final segment here. Man, it's gone quickly, but I
Right.
do want to mention a little few things, folks. If you're interested in a little bit about my team, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, or Indian River Hauntings, which is my tour organization, check us out at IndianRiverHauntings.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Indian River Hauntings LLC. And if you'd like to see some of our investigations and some of the things that we do, check out our YouTube channel at Indian River Hauntings 2341. And I'd be remiss not to mention the fact that there's some great programming here on the X Zone Radio and TV network, and check them out at X is an X-ray, ZBN.net, xzbn.net, X Zone Radio and TV network for some terrific programming because it covers all the gambits, all the areas of the paranormal, and the answers really are out there. And ladies, how can folks find out more about you and your tours and scheduling an event with you?
Yeah, so our website is the Fright Club FL, all lowercase all together, .com. We're on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So just look up the Fright Club, and it'll give you a description of everything that we have, and you can book on the website.
How often do you do tours?
I do tours every weekend.
Every weekend? Do
Yep.
people just show up, or do they have to call first?
Book online.
Book online.
We book
Okay.
online. Yep.
All right. Well, you guys do these terrific tours. People are enjoying it. You're in a city where there's a lot of them, so you need to be unique for it to be successful, I'm sure. But you also investigate, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that and learn about how you're finding information for the stories that you tell on your tours. So do you do investigations outside of the tours?
We do. Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. How do you find the spot? Do you go to the same spot all the time? What are your protocols? How do you investigate?
So as of right now, our hide and seek investigation, we're small. We are looking for people to join our team in the area. We pick different locations for whether it's inside, outside. We do a lot of outside investigations as well.
Mhm.
We do a lot of house investigations. People will call
Okay.
us and we'll go out and investigate the house. Also, social media. We'll find spots that a lot of investigators have gone to and love, and we'll go
Mhm.
out there and see what we come up with.
Yeah, we do have we have some regular spots that we'll go back to multiple times only because we typically will get, some activity each time. So we kind of have our
Mhm.
favorites as far as that goes. But then trying to also just step outside the box and find some other places, like she said, we either have heard from someone else, hey, you got to check this spot out, or we've been asked to go
Mhm.
and check a certain spot, or maybe it's just, hey, like something happened over here, let's go over here and let's try it out. So sometimes it's just a
Okay.
hit and miss too. You just never know what you're
Mhm.
going to find until you
And
go there.
I feel we have a strong connection with some of the spirits downtown, and we do have a certain spot that maybe
Okay.
once a week we'll go out there and we'll investigate. And sometimes the spirits will say, "Bring me a cigar," and we'll go get a cigar
Well,
and bring it out to them.
well, and I think that going back to places numerous times is, you're never going to get everything with just one visit. So I
Right.
totally agree with that. You mentioned residentials. Always a little frightened of that, not because of the spirits, but because of the implications. What's your most common call that you get from a resident? What is their issue? And what do they want you to do?
So a lot of times, our residential calls are from people we know or
Mhm.
people who know those people, and they're just curious. Nothing's bad's happened in the house. They're just curious, like they might have seen a shadow or they might have heard something in the house. And we'll just go out there and set up our equipment and see what we come up with.
Do you have a protocol that you use to get your investigations going? And do you keep the evidence that you get? And what do you do with that evidence?
So, yes, we do have a protocol. Wherever we go, we will always introduce ourselves. That's my main thing is
Mhm.
introduce yourself. You are going into their spot, their home, their comfort zone, and you're a stranger to that spirit. So introduce yourself. We'll introduce ourselves. We'll say our little, like, we don't mean any harm. We're just here to communicate. And we will try to make the spirits feel comfortable um, before we set up any of the equipment. And then once we set up the equipment, we will explain to the spirits what the equipment is, how it works, and how they could communicate with us and how it's not going to harm them. We don't provoke at all. And we want the spirits to feel comfortable and we want them to know that we're not there to harm them. We're just there to hear their story.
Yeah, showing that respect right off the start, and kind of including them in on it, if you will, instead of, hey, we need you to show up. It's more like, hey, we're here to, just chat. We just want to know
Mhm.
who you are, and try and create a little comfortable environment.
And we do certain things like if we're asking the spirit to touch the REM pod, we're going to say, hey, look, we're touching the REM pod. We're going to do what we ask the spirits to do. And we just try to get like we are family and friends with the spirits versus just trying to be like, hey, touch the REM pod. Hey, do this, do that.
Ever think that doing this, what we all do, is almost making them like circus animals?
Yeah, that's why we
Asking,
try to
Mhm.
keep it versus like friends. Like we're friends
Mhm.
versus just telling them, hey, do this, say that, do that.
Yeah.
Like we try to keep it as if we're communicating with friends. Being like,
Mhm.
hey, you want to play this game? Look at what I could do with the REM pod, or hey, you guys want to run and place with me? We'll play like little silly games like that.
Yeah.
So they don't
One,
feel like that zoo animal or circus animal.
yeah. Do you ever stop to think maybe that they're actually investigating us?
Yes, all the time.
Maybe they're on the other side with their own equipment saying, "Oh, listen to
There-
the."
Yeah,
these-
I have a meme on my Facebook like that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
basically like, you know, like we're out here telling stories and they're over there going, we never said that.
Right.
You know, like we
Okay,
never did
you
that.
want us to do it again?
What um what do you tell the client, the person that's asked you to come and find out what's going on? How do you conclude it? And what do you do with the evidence that you've collected?
So
In fact, yeah, go ahead.
a lot of times we just hand all the evidence over to them, whether it's the recordings, the videos, everything, photos. We just hand it
Okay.
over to them. And when we end it, like we'll do the whole, we'll end it with like a little clearance and everything. And we just explain to them like what happened, what was going on, and just keep everything as real as possible.
Does anybody ever ask you to remove what they think is there?
No, we've never come across anything evil in someone's home,
Mhm.
luckily.
Yeah. Usually it's just, again, like she said, it's more curiosity. It's like, hey, we're just kind of curious, you know, we're
Yeah.
having this,
Okay.
you know, these things happen, or to just, you know, make it so that they're not like, is this really happening? You know, and we'll kind of
Am
confirm.
I crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Have you ever considered taking the evidence that you've gained and keeping it also? I mean, obviously turning it over to the client or the person that's asked you there, but ever keeping it and use it to compare other investigations to see if maybe there's similarities, maybe at a particular time, moon phase or whatever, you're getting more activity. Have you ever considered that at all?
Yeah, I have a little notebook that I write everything down in.
Okay.
So I keep
Okay.
track of a lot of stuff.
How often have you ever gotten a person in one spot and they've popped up in another? Has
Yes.
that ever happened?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Quite a
Give me
bit.
an example. Give me an example of that.
So I do have a spirit friend downtown, and we will contact them at the well, and then all of a sudden they're at the fort, and then even when we do St. Augustine Lighthouse Park, boom, he's right there. And I'm like, oh hey. There's
Mhm.
been times where I've been out of town and I hear like he talks a certain way or whatever, and I hear certain words that he says, and I'm like, "Hey, is that you?" And he'll answer. He'll be like, "Yep, it's me. Hi."
When you're out
Hi.
of town, does that concern you at all that he's attached himself to you?
Um, Concern? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
It, it's a very friendly spirit. I do feel I do have a few spirits that are attached to me.
Okay.
Hmm.
And you're not concerned about that at all.
No,
Okay.
as long
And
as it's good.
you mentioned the Lighthouse Park. Definitely an interesting spot. There's no
Yeah.
no question about that. So in our last couple of minutes together, I'd like to know where the Fright Club is headed. What do you see as far as the future? I'd also like to know what you think we can do to combat people just doing this for a buck and not taking it seriously and just regurgitating old stories. Tell me about your future. Where are you going? How do we combat folks that are frauds?
I don't know that we can. I mean, I don't know that
Okay,
there's
fair.
really an answer other than, you know, again, our ultimate goal is to have people want to come out with us and not only go on the tours themselves, but to really build more on this investigation side and have people be able to experience that in, you know, real time, but showing it that respect that it deserves as opposed to these other places. And I think that you'll find some people, I mean, we both have done, you know, other tours with other companies in the past where we were reading from a script. And you do get those people on occasion where they're like, wait a second, we didn't know we were just going to hear stories. We thought we were actually going to learn something about the, you know, paranormal. So we're hoping to really capture more of those type of people who are really truly interested in also being respectful in attending these investigations and learning about the history and learning about the people that we might reach through those investigations. And so that's really ultimately kind of the goal for us on that end of it. And as far as combating what's already out there, I don't think we can stop what's already out there, but trying to stand out and being those other people like that and trying to get people to come out with us on that on that
Gotcha.
side of it. Yeah.
And I feel like one of our main goals is we want to teach people that you don't have to provoke the spirits to communicate with them.
Agreed.
We see that a lot on these TV shows and just things like that where they're provoking the spirits. They're being mean to the spirits. They're yelling at the spirits. We just want to educate people that you don't have to do that. You can say hi.
Yeah. Just
How are you? How's your day? You know?
How do you think the other side reacts to that provoking? I sometimes think they just turn and walk away.
I think so.
I mean, yeah. I feel like there's some spirits that just turn and walk away, and then I feel like there's other spirits that are like, "Hey, who are you talking to like that?
Mhm.
Like, why are you talking to me like that?"
Or like you
And-
said, the circus animals type style.
Right.
I think that at some
Mhm.
point you're not going to get, the people that are looking for results in a way. And that's the other side of it is again, when we started, it's like, hey, we don't make any promises because we're not
Yeah.
going for that. And I think sometimes you're not going to get the results that you're looking for by having those different approaches. Like she said, these were people. If you just
Mhm.
approach them as if they're people, then you're going to get a lot better results.
So you're a small team. You're looking for other folks. Can they
Yeah.
get a hold of you at your website if they're interested in connecting with you to maybe to investigate?
Yeah.
With that, if you want to grow, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see the Fright Club?
Ooh. I mean, ultimately, my gosh, I'm not even sure. I mean, we would like to hopefully, have some presence in town, as far as like a storefront, things like that, just for that
Mhm.
exposure, to be able to offer, some additional things on that end of it. But yeah, just building the team as an investigation team and being a team that people want to
Okay.
come out and do investigations with.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. We are out of time. You
All
guys
right.
have been terrific. I would invite anybody to go check out the Fright Club in St. Augustine, Florida, a great city to learn history and paranormal investigative ways. So I thank you folks for being with me tonight. Folks, I thank you for being here with me tonight. Please check out my website, my YouTube channel, and check out the great programming here on xcbn.net. And until next time, thank you for joining me, but see you on the other side. Have a great night, folks.